My teaching is largely directed toward what the law should be, and that is based on morals and policy. And most of the students know morals and policy, or can figure it out with a little prompting, perhaps. One expression was it was not an offer. One expression was it was not an acceptance. I'm not really discussing the nature of a contract. I'm discussing a lot of related questions, like what kinds of promises should the law enforce? What remedy should the law give for a breach of a promise? Now, I don't consider that I'm working. I do all these things and people pay me money, but those are two different things. When I was young, it was more important to drive a cab in New York than to be governor of North Dakota, right? Growing up in Queens was a very bland experience. About the only thing to do was go to the airport and watch the planes take off. So I really didn't get going until I went to college.
They met at a square dance just after my mother had moved to New York.
There's my wife-to-be, and I asked her to dance.
We ruined the square dance for everybody because we immediately started talking, and we haven't stopped since then.
I wasn't prepared or equipped to be a scientist. I didn't want to go to graduate school. I couldn't be a doctor, and it was like I fell off my chair, and that was law school. But I loved law school from the moment I started. I went on to the staff of the Warren Commission, and I was thinking, here's a really historically important thing to do, and I'm going to be doing it. My role on the commission was to look at the scientific evidence questions. I never saw the bullets. I did handle the rifle. It had a telescopic sight. And the thing that really struck me was how close everything seemed then out of the telescopic sight. Oswald assassinated the president. There was no other assassin. That's for sure. And the idea that there was a conspiracy and it never emerges after all these years, you know, it was a little incredible, but I can't say that it didn't exist. I had been to Washington. I saw I could leave New York and live happily. So I decided to teach, and from the moment I started, it was just absolutely right for me. The law school was fantastic. It was just like a family. There were dinner parties every weekend, and there was just a general atmosphere of warmth and support. The reason you don't understand the reasoning is because there is no reason. What about the price?
I had a whole year with Mel Eisenberg, and I would bet that there is not a person who took that class that didn't think of it as one of the best classes they'd ever had.
You're not out of court just because the contract looks the other way. It does matter in theory.
His brilliance was revealed not by using long words or showing off, but by the kinds of questions that he asked.
Thinking about the law combines theoretical issues with hands-on issues, what's happening on the ground, what should people be doing, what should the law be. The Guggenheim Fellowship gave me time off to finish my first book on the structure of the corporation. Law cannot be justified by doctrinal propositions. Ultimately, you've got to go back and find what the best rule is based on morality and policy and experience.
Mel has a remarkable ability to be aware of and to draw upon the highest theories, the most abstract ones that mostly come from outside the law, with the latest developments in the courts, the latest understandings, interpretations of cases. The result is an intermediate level of theory that the courts can use, that the lawmakers can use.
I still have his basic contract law textbook in my office. It reminds me of the elements of contract law that were so beautifully analyzed in his classes.
Everybody is looking for a place in life where they can flourish, where they can do what is deeply satisfying to them and do it well. And I think Mel found that in legal scholarship.
Everybody knew of his reputation, but he doesn't terrify you immediately. You realize this is going to be hard, but it's going to be rewarding.
I think my father's a really loving, warm person, and I'm sure everyone is picking up on that. He is really interested in them and in them becoming the best lawyer or best student they can be.
I learned from one of the greatest contemporary scholars of the law, and I think Boalt Hall's greatest scholar.
Oh, one latte, una. You know, the big choices that I made in a flash. I fell in love with my wife as soon as I met her. I went to the Warren Commission right away. Said yes to Berkeley immediately. I agonize sometimes over little choices, you know, what kind of rye bread shall I buy? Jewish or Russian? No. But the really big choices in my life I've made very quickly because they just seemed right.